Hello, ghosties. You're listening to Not My Ghost.
Not My Problem. I'm Kelli.
And I'm Jen.
Whether you're a skeptic, a true believer, or somewhere in between, join us for a journey into the unknown.
Because remember, when it comes to the paranormal, it may not be our problem.
But it's certainly someone's problem.
Kelli, has anyone told you today how beautiful your smile is?
No, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I look like I have a tooth now.
I know. It's so wonderful. I can't tell the difference.
I don't, in fact, have a tooth, and I won't until probably March.
It's okay.
But I do have my retainer, so I do sound, it's a little weird. It's still, they said it's going to take a while for me to get used to talking with it.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I could hear that I have it in, but I think it's much better than when no tooth was there and I just sounded exhausted speaking. It was hard. It was tiring trying to speak.
Yeah.
With that tooth missing. It was not fun.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you got your retainer and are mostly back to normal.
Thank you so much.
So what is normal?
Who knows?
Okay. You said you had something to tell me. So what did you have to tell me?
Okay. We had asked our patrons on the Discord if they wanted to name my ghost that's been haunting me here.
I remember. I asked.
Right, you asked. And our lovely patron, Katrona, said that when she was listening to it, that she was getting the names, was it Ellie, Ellen, and Eileen?
And Eileen, yeah.
And Jen was like, well, it can't be Ellie because that's my dog's name. And I was like, I have an aunt named Eileen, so that's out. So we went with Ellen.
Yeah.
We're like, my ghostie's name is Ellen. And we didn't really think much of it after that. Well, today I was in my bedroom getting some stuff done. And I moved one of the haunted dolls that I had gotten off of eBay months and months ago.
Okay.
And as soon as I looked at her, I remembered that her name is Ellen.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm not even lying. And I wrote, when I got all of these dolls, I wrote their names somewhere on them so I would remember what their names were. And on her shoe, obviously they can't see it, Jen, but you can, it says Ellen.
Yes, it sure does.
I pulled out my ghost box and I just let it flip through the channels. A ghost box is a device that kind of flips through radio frequencies really, really quickly. And it doesn't stay on any station long enough where you can hear anything that's on that station.
Mm-hmm.
But the theory behind it is that spirits can use kind of that static and that frequency to communicate. So I asked the doll, what is your name? And I got the name Ellen.
No fucking way.
Yep. So when Katrona said that she was feeling that, she was spot on.
Katrona, are you psychic? Because
that's what I want to know.
If you're not, you might be. Because how the fuck did you pull that out? We said nothing about that.
Nothing.
We never said anything about your doll's names.
Nope. And for what it's worth, this is the doll that I got that they were supposed to send me all positive. And the information that was on this doll, on the printout, said that this doll had, and you can see it's kind of...
She's creepy looking.
You're beautiful. You're beautiful.
We'll take a picture of the doll, Kelli, and post it on the social media post for this episode.
Ellen has a chaotic energy.
Well, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Okay.
So,
well, we're definitely settled on the name Ellen then, for sure.
Yep.
And I think that's probably what, maybe she just took a little while to warm up to you and your house. And
yeah,
she just started, acting out.
It seems as that is the case. By the way, welcome to our scripted, unscripted banter part of our episode.
Welcome, welcome.
Usually at this point, I would ask Jen a question.
Are you not?
No, because you stole my question in the last episode of yours.
Oh, that's right. Actually, I think that's going to be an episode after because we recorded these out of order because of your tooth.
Oh, okay.
But
well, I was going to ask Jen a
difference.
question, and she asked me the same question I was going to ask her when we were recording a previous episode. So
great minds think alike.
They do. What I did, I thought I'd have some fun. So I randomly sent Jen a text message one day and said, "Hey, Jen, what are your 3 favorite TV shows?"
Oh, yeah. You never did tell me why.
And she answered me, and then she said, "Why?" And I just ignored her and just went on about other things. And I
forgot
know
about it completely.
that she has ADHD like I do. So I knew she was not going to remember. Don't mind my neighbor's dog barking. So I asked ChatGPT some questions.
Okay.
And I want to see if you can guess, okay? Before I tell you what ChatGPT said. I asked the question, given everything you know about Jen from Not My Ghost, Not My Problem podcast, gender aside, what character would she be on the show Modern Family?
Oh, this is a good one. Okay. Gender aside. Okay. I would say either Claire or Haley.
You would be wrong.
Oh, okay.
This is what it said. Jen from Not My Ghost, Not My Problem would 100% be Phil Dunphy.
What?
She's got that optimistic, fun-loving, slightly chaotic energy that just makes people want to be around her. Like Phil, Jen would probably throw herself into ghostly shenanigans with a mix of determination and humor, coming up with wildly creative and maybe a little offbeat solutions to the supernatural problems.
Okay.
Plus, her empathy and genuine care for others would make her the heart of the group, just like Phil is for the Dunphy clan.
Okay. Now that you read the explanation, I can definitely see
I thought it was spot on. But
yeah.
I asked it the same question about me.
Okay.
Who do you think that it said I was?
Oh, for you, I would say, I don't know, Cam.
Wrong.
Damn it.
I would have picked Cam for me too.
Okay.
Kelli would totally be Claire Dunphy. So we're married. That's why this podcast works.
That's why it works out so well.
She's practical, organized, and often the voice of reason, keeping things on track while having a sly sense of humor. Like Claire, Kelli probably balances Jen's Phil-like energy by keeping things grounded, but she also has her moments of joining in on the chaos when it suits her. Kelli would be the one making sure all the ghost hunting equipment is working properly and the plans are somewhat realistic, but deep down she'd secretly enjoy the craziness Jen brings to the table. A little exasperated at times, sure, but fiercely loyal and always there to back Jen up, just like Claire is for Phil.
Okay.
I didn't think it was that much of a fit. Some of it.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to... I am very organized in some areas of my life.
Yeah, me too.
But I don't know. I don't know that it worked very well.
I think that... I definitely think for me, once you read the description, it kind of fit.
I thought it was spot on for you.
Yeah. For you, I think kind of half and half. There are definitely parts about it, but I think you have a little more Phil energy than Claire.
I think so too.
I think you would be a mix between Phil and Claire.
I also asked ChatGPT, given everything you know about Jen from Not My Ghost, Not My Problem, what character from the show Project Fear would Jen be? Gender aside, of course.
Of course.
Because I didn't want it to just say Chelsea because you're both women.
Because
So what do you think ChatGPT said?
I would go with, it's so hard. I can see pieces of me in all of them. Oh, I think Alex.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Yay.
Jen from Not My Ghost, Not My Problem would totally be Alex from Project Fear. Alex's humor, goofiness, and ability to lighten up even the creepiest situations feels like a perfect match for Jen's personality. Like Alex, Jen would approach spooky situations with a mix of curiosity and playful charm, probably cracking jokes to keep things fun, even when the vibes are downright chilling. At the same time, Alex is great at rolling with the punches and adapting to the unexpected, which aligns with how Jen probably handles the paranormal chaos in her world. She'd be the one making ghostly shenanigans entertaining while still contributing meaningfully to the investigation.
Okay, I hope you did it for you too, because I definitely know who. You would be Tanner. You'd be Tanner.
Yes.
You're 100% Tanner.
When I was asking it, I was like, Jen is definitely Alex.
Yeah, and no, you are definitely Tanner, because Tanner's got that like protective part of him to the group where he always feels like he needs to look out for everybody. And I feel like that would be you too in any I mean, that is you in life, but that would also be you in any investigation.
So this is what it says. Kelli would totally be Tanner from Project Fear. Like Tanner, Kelli seems like the grounded, level-headed one who helps balance out the group's chaotic energy, but can still dive right into the action when needed. Tanner's calm presence, strategic thinking, and low-key humor feel very much in line with Kelli's vibe. Kelli would probably be the one to keep things organized, take the spooky moments seriously, help smooth over any tension, while also sharing those subtle but hilarious reactions when things get a little too wild. Plus, like Tanner, she would be the protective one of the rest of the group, and she would have no problem stepping up as the voice of reason while still being a total team player in the madness.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's why I asked you what your TV shows were.
I like this. I might have to do this for other shows.
Yeah.
In future
I thought
episodes.
It would be fun. All right. Do we want to know what we're talking about today?
Please, Kelli. I feel like you've been hinting at this episode for weeks now.
Yes. I was very excited to do this episode, but I had to wait until I could talk much better than the way I was talking.
Yeah.
Before I got this retainer that gives me a tooth. So today, we're headed to the heart of Iowa, to a place that's been called one of the most haunted locations in the Midwest, Edinburgh Manor. Picture this, a former asylum turned care facility, steeped in over a century of tragedy, secrets, and chilling encounters. Shadow figures, disembodied voices, and a sinister presence known only as the Joker. This isn't just any ghost story. This is Edinburgh Manor. So turn off the lights and grab your flashlight and get ready to step into a building where the walls don't just whisper, they scream. Let's unravel the terrifying tales of Edinburgh Manor.
Did the walls scream, Kelli?
I didn't hear any screaming.
Okay.
But I did hear some things.
Okay.
And I did experience some things.
Yes, you did.
So my husband is from a small town in Iowa. I'm not going to tell you what that town is.
Are all towns in Iowa small?
No.
Oh, okay.
His is particularly small. Like when you think of a small town, you're thinking of something way bigger than where my husband comes from. Like they have 2 stop signs.
Wow.
Stop
signs, not even stop lights.
Stop signs, yes.
Okay.
And I remember when I first met him in...
How many churches?
Just one.
Oh, okay.
That I'm aware of. Yeah, just one. It's a very Catholic area.
Okay.
So, just tell you a little funny, they have this big cemetery by the Catholic Church, right? It is huge. And I asked him one day, like, what happens if you're not Catholic? Like, where do they bury you? And he took me to the Baptist cemetery down a long dirt road next to the trash dump.
Okay. Did you know, speaking of that, within the city limits of St. Augustine, you could not be buried there unless you were Catholic?
Yes. I learned that on our ghost tour.
Oh, okay. I'm using that knowledge from the ghost tour that I do. But yeah, there's a cemetery outside of the city limits that was open during the yellow fever epidemic that houses all the Protestant bodies that were dying of yellow fever.
Yeah.
Because they were just piling up at the city gates prior to that, you know, just rotting in the hot summer heat.
So nice.
Of Florida. Mm-hmm. It's wonderful. Good times.
Well, we did not know about Edinburgh Manor at all until I was watching Project Fear when I first found the show. Or Destination Fear at the time. It was on, I guess, Travel Channel. I watched it on Discovery Plus. And
it's also on HBO Max, if anyone cares.
Right. So when I saw the name of the town that Edinburgh Manor was in, I was like, what? Like, I know that town. It's right near.
It's the exact. Oh, no, it's near. It's not the same town.
It's not the same town he's from, but it's very close to to the town my husband is from.
Okay.
When he came home, I was like, do you know this? And he was like, I don't think so. When we went out that year, we were like, we got to go see this place. So we drove out. We just looked around on the outside of the building because we did not they weren't doing tours on the days that we were there.
Okay.
So this year when we went out in October, we made sure months in advance that I contacted them and got us a ghost tour of Edinburgh Manor. And we were excited. It was me, my husband, and my youngest daughter, Katie.
Okay.
And we were really, really excited. And it did not disappoint.
No, it didn't.
First of all, our tour guide, Kat, was very knowledgeable about the history of not just the building, but of all the resident spirits, as they called them.
Okay.
She was pretty wonderful. If you ever go to Edinburgh Manor and take one of their tours and Kat is your guide, let them know that Not My Ghost, Not My Problem podcast sent you.
Did you tell her that you had a podcast and you were going to talk about the episode?
I didn't
talk about
tell
the place.
her, but I told another paranormal investigator that was there, and we'll get to that in a moment of how he comes into my story of while we're there. Okay. But first, I do have some facts.
Okay. Let's get to the facts.
Facts about Iowa. Fun facts. The movie Field of Dreams was filmed in Dyersville, Iowa. My husband went to a Catholic high school, so it was not the high school in his town. Mm-hmm. He had to be bussed in. My husband's high school was essentially across the street from where they filmed the movie Field of Dreams.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you've ever seen the movie or know anything about it. But...
We talked about it in another episode, and you tried to describe it to me, and I thought it sounded insane.
Oh, well, I can see that.
Yeah.
The Iowa State Fair every year features a famous butter sculpture of a cow.
How do you sculpt butter?
It has to be really, 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 really cold.
Yeah, it must be something.
Yeah. Iowa State's Capitol building has the only 23 karat gold covered dome in the U.S. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, it seems a bit excessive, but hey.
Now we have some scary facts about Iowa.
I love the scary.
In 1912, 8 people were brutally murdered in the Villisca Axe murder house.
Oh, yeah, they were. We're going to cover this at some point.
Yeah, it's a small home, and it is now said to be very haunted.
Mm-hmm. Does Villisca Murder House have tours that you can do? Do you know?
I believe so.
Okay.
When I was talking to the other paranormal investigator that we'll get into, I wish I could remember his name.
ADHD.
We were talking about other places in Iowa, and the Villisca Axe murder house came up.
Okay.
It's just several hours away from where we go when we go to Iowa. It might be worth the trip one day, but still.
Well, I'm just saying, you said, I don't remember what episode it was. It might even be one that comes out after this, but you said that you guys were planning on doing an overnight there?
No, an overnight at Edinburgh.
No, I know, overnight at Edinburgh.
Yeah.
So if I fly out for an overnight at Edinburgh, we should maybe then plan to try to do.
Oh, absolutely.
Villisca.
You and I, Nick doesn't have to come.
Right. Because I'm definitely not staying with your Nick's family. I don't think they could handle 2 of us, Kelly.
I guarantee you Nick's father cannot. Okay. Now we have Stony Hollow Road. A ghost named Lucinda reportedly haunts this road near Burlington. People claim they can see her if they call out her name.
Oh.
And lastly, Iowa is affected by chronic wasting disease, otherwise known as zombie deer disease.
Oh.
It makes the deer appear lethargic and eerie, like the zombies on The Walking Dead.
That's terrifying.
But they're not actually like eating brains.
I was about to say, do they eat human flesh? Because, no. Okay.
No. All right, let's get into it. You ready?
I am ready.
All right. In the rural town of Scotch Grove, Iowa, sits a sprawling century-old building that seems to be frozen in time. Originally known as the Jones County Poor Farm, the property has a rich and complex history. From its beginnings as a place to house the county's most vulnerable citizens to becoming a facility for the mentally ill, Edinburgh Manor has seen many transformations. Despite no longer serving as a residence for the living, it remains home to something else, the spirits of the past. Today, the manor draws visitors from across the country, offering tours and overnight investigations for those intrigued by its haunting reputation.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yes. Edinburgh Manor's origins trace back to the mid-1800s, when it was established as a county poor farm. Poor farms were typically managed by the county and served as a refuge for individuals who were poor, elderly, disabled, or suffering from mental illness. The idea behind poor farms was to provide these individuals with basic shelter, food, and medical care in exchange for their labor. Now, the research that I did said that it was they would be provided medical care. Mm-hmm. However, when I took the tour, they said there was no medical staff at all. This was not like a hospital situation.
Okay.
I don't know which one is real, but I would tend to probably go with Kat, the one who knows most of the history about the place.
The one who's doing the tour. Yeah.
So my research said medical care. She said there's no medical staff at all.
Okay.
On the premises.
Just presenting all the facts.
Yes. So the county hired a steward. The steward typically handled the farm's operations, while the matron was responsible for managing the day-to-day life of the residents.
Okay.
Residents were expected to work on the farm to help support the facility. This work could include farming, animal care, cooking, cleaning, and other daily tasks.
I do just want to say that as an idea, these types of places are great. But as we know, because we are into paranormal locations and
it never works out.
It never works out the way that they're intended. Like I said, the idea of them is fantastic to have. It's like a homeless shelter, but where they actually have to contribute. So I feel like it gives people a sense of purpose too, because it makes them feel like they have a place to stay, but they're also working for it. They're not just getting a handout, which...
Right. And then it did house like mentally ill people as well that they could be sent there. And if you were a resident there, one of the jobs that you could do to work would be to help take care of the people that couldn't take care of themselves. Yeah. Like that could be your job as well.
And I just love that because, again, it gives them a sense of purpose and they don't feel like they're getting these handouts, which I know can be really hard for some people to feel like they're, taking advantage of something. But obviously we know it doesn't, at least back then, it never worked out.
No. While they weren't prisoners, they were referred to as inmates because of their living situation.
I don't like that.
But the living situation was somewhat institutionalized.
Right, but were they sent there or did they come there of their own free will?
Some of them came there of their own free will. And other people were dropped off there. If the parents couldn't, like if you had a mentally handicapped child that the parents couldn't take care of, they could drop them off.
But that's still not an inmate. Even like short of being sent there because you're like a homeless person who's getting like in trouble, causing disorderly conduct in public and you keep being arrested. Like you shouldn't. If you're there by your own free will or just because you're mentally handicapped, you're not an inmate.
But this is the 1800s, so.
I know, but
they didn't care about language the way that we do.
I know.
Now, they were allowed to leave the farm. They could leave if they wanted to leave, they could leave.
Okay.
But they didn't have anywhere to go.
Right.
Because the people that lived on the poor farms were often those who just didn't have anywhere else to go. They were typically impoverished, elderly, orphaned, or mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
Some also had physical disabilities and were unable to care for themselves due to health issues. Eventually, it got to the point where they would keep, like if you and your husband came there, you would be separated because men and women were not allowed to stay in the same areas.
But could you at least still see them?
Well, you would see them throughout the day, sure.
Okay.
But the men would be like sleeping on one side of the building and the women all the way on the other side of the building.
I mean, it's the 1800s. If you weren't married, you weren't allowed to sleep together anyway.
Right. But it got really dark when they started not allowing children.
Oh, wait, not allowing children or separating parents from children?
If you were poor and didn't have anywhere to go and you went to Edinburgh Manor, they would put the husband on one side of the building, the wife on the other side of the building, and place the children up for adoption. Yeah. And that, in and of itself, without deaths taking place, is tragic. That is tragedy. That is trauma that these people are feeling. Yeah. And we all know trauma and tragedy makes a prime situation for paranormal activity. Yeah. Especially when there's a lot of it. Mm-hmm. By 1910, Edinburgh Manor was no longer just a poor farm, as the county sought to replace the original structure with a more modern building. The new facility, known as the Jones County Home, was built in 1912, providing a better living space for those who needed assistance but didn't require the care of a hospital. The manor was intended to be a more comfortable and dignified place for individuals who needed help, but not necessarily a constant medical supervision. Mm-hmm. Residents, at this point, were expected to contribute to the upkeep of the facility just the same as before, working in the fields, doing chores around the property. So this period in its history saw the facility house people who were considered capable of working but unable to fully care for themselves. Okay. Many residents, like we said, were elderly, while others had intellectual disabilities, mental health conditions that made it difficult to live independently. So this gave them a much bigger space to live in.
Okay. Again, sounds like a great idea.
Right.
But ...
Yeah. By the mid-20th century, changes in social services, especially after the introduction of Social Security and federal welfare programs in the 1930s, reduced the need for poor farms. Edinburgh Manor began to transition into a more structured residential care facility, offering services to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, as well as those with mental health issues.
Now, question, are these people that actually had like mental disabilities that needed to be institutionalized, or was this like your wife is sad because your son died at war, so let's send her to a mental institution?
The men that were there for mental health services probably very much needed it. I cannot say the same for the women that were there.
Okay.
Some of them I'm sure they did.
I just wanted clarity because we know how mental institutions were back in that time.
Upstairs in the women's ward, they have a room that has a balcony. And the men's side, there's also a room with a balcony. The women's side had a cage put up around the balcony so that no woman would just get too upset and just not be able to control herself and then just leap off the balcony. Now, that happened 0 times before they put the cage up, but we all know how women can be.
What would have been ironic is if the men's side without the cage, someone would have jumped off, but they felt the need to stop the women from doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The introduction of Social Security in the 1930s and other welfare programs during the 1900s alleviated some of the financial burdens on institutions like Edinburgh Manor. Now, these programs meant that people didn't have to rely on the poor farm system, and a more formal mental health care and housing options were available to those in need.
Okay.
By the 1970s and 1980s, Edinburgh Manor had evolved into a residential facility for individuals with mental health disorders and intellectual disabilities. The manor operated as a supportive home where the residents received care but were still encouraged to live as independently as possible.
Okay.
During this time, the manor had trained staff who cared for the residents. The facility was equipped with rooms for both individual and shared living. Not shared living like husband and wife. Yeah. Just a big room with multiple women in it, or a big room with multiple men in it.
With multiple men, yeah.
The grounds were still used for some agricultural activities. However, by the late 1900s and early 2000s, the facility had fewer residents, as many other options became available for people with mental health or developmental disabilities. My husband's brother is a landscaper.
Okay.
And he used to do the lawn at Edinburgh.
Oh.
And when we told him we were going there, he said, I used to cut the grass there. And we were like, oh, what can you say about it? And he just said, that place was crazy.
He didn't give any more information? Just that place was crazy?
No. The manor remained operational until 2010, when it was officially closed after a task force decided that the county could no longer sustain a facility due to funding issues and challenging regulations.
2010?
Yes.
That was like yesterday.
So one of the things there's no elevators in this building at all. And they housed people with physical handicaps.
Yeah.
Upstairs.
How?
So if there was a fire, they can't get out of the building.
No. How did they get them upstairs to start?
I have no idea. And then the kitchen is on the basement level of the manor. So people would have to go from the third floor down to the kitchen. The whole kitchen situation was very weird. That basement is hands down the creepiest place I've ever been in my entire life. But we will get there.
Okay. Is that where it happened?
That's where it happened.
I can't wait for that story. I know very little about her investigation, except for this one thing, which we'll get to, because she had to send me a picture of it right away. Immediately, because it was insane. And I cannot wait for her to tell all of you, because I have been sitting on this for months.
Yeah. Sidebar. Did I ever send you a picture of the strange light anomaly I got at Penhurst?
No.
Oh, I'll have to send you that too.
Okay, yeah.
Huh?
What?
I just got a text message from my friend Katie that said, take the batteries out of that thing and sage your house. I'm assuming she's listening to an episode and maybe the REM pod is going off and that's what you're talking about. I'm not positive, but...
Probably. I'm leaving this in, by the way, so if she's listening.
Hi, Katie. We love you.
She did sage. I did make her buy sage.
Yes, I did. Okay. In 2010, the remaining 36 residents, many of whom suffered from chronic mental illness, were relocated to the Fairview Care Center in Anamosa.
That's a cool name.
Anamosa? Yeah, we stayed at Anamosa. You know the painting, the American Gothic with the two farmers, the man and the woman? That the artist who painted that was from Anamosa.
Really?
Yeah, and they have this huge,
huge.
It's huge. It's the biggest statue I've ever seen. Ever. It's so tall. I'll show you the pictures of it, of that painting they have it just up in the middle of town. Nice. We stayed there one year because there's a big maximum security prison in that town. Ooh. And they have a museum there. And Emily loves watching true crime, and she loves learning about serial killers. And
same.
John Wayne Gacy was at that prison at one time. Now,
is it still an active prison?
Yes.
Okay, because I know because I watch so many true crime shows, or not true crime. I watch so many paranormal investigation shows. I know in one of them, they investigated a prison that John Wayne Gacy stayed at, but he was probably at multiple.
Well, he was at this one before the murders. He was at this one for the pedophilia.
Oh, okay. Just that.
Just the pedophilia.
Probably shouldn't have been released. Hence what he did.
Oh, it says out of your remote. Katie was listening to the one when the TV kept turning on.
Oh, okay. That's fair. That would have been interesting to take the batteries out of the remote to see if the TV kept turning on.
Good thought, Katie. You should join a paranormal investigation team with Jen and I.
You should. We'll try that next time. Ellen, if you ever decide to turn Kelly's TV back on, we're going to try to take the batteries out of the remote to see if you can turn it on without the remote. Now, if that TV turns on in this episode, I will shit myself because it has not happened for weeks.
Really? Just that one day?
Yeah.
Okay. We got a lot of ghost stuff to get into, so let me finish up this history real quick.
Yes.
After the manor closed, it was put up for sale and sold in 2011 to a private entity, Hugh Farm Land Trust, which led to its current status as a popular site for paranormal tours and investigations. Throughout its history, Edinburgh Manor served as a symbol of how communities once cared for their most vulnerable members, although often in harsh and restrictive conditions, from a working poor farm to a facility for the mentally ill and disabled. It went through numerous phases of care before being abandoned, only to find new life as a site for those drawn to its eerie history.
I love it. I want to go so bad.
It was, it's just one of the coolest things that I've done.
Yeah.
Even with everything that happened.
I've only really ever done that one investigation that I did with you when we were on that team. And as you know, nothing really happened that night. That place was questionably haunted. We stayed there 2 nights and nothing. Though the first night we were all kind of drunk. So we might have missed some things if anything happened.
We weren't investigating that night. We were just staying there that night. Yes. There was no alcohol when we investigated it.
Wasn't it as one of the members of our team, wasn't it like her parents' vacation
I think it was our
home
aunt
or something?
Or something. Yeah.
Yes. It belonged to somebody on the team. So we went and stayed for 2 nights and it was a long drive. So we stayed the first night and it was just like a team bonding experience.
A team drinking experience.
Yeah. There was some bonding.
Yeah. Good times. We had fun.
It was a great time.
The questions surrounding why Edinburgh Manor is so haunted often lead back to its long and troubled history. So the building served, as we said, as a home to one of society's most vulnerable members, those who were abandoned, those who were forgotten, suffered from mental illnesses and disabilities. Many of these people lived in harsh conditions. Some passed away in unsettling and unexpected ways. These unresolved deaths, combined with the oppressive atmosphere of institutional life, may have created an environment where spirits linger. Not may, it did. The trauma, the despair, and the harsh realities faced by the residents likely imprinted themselves on the building, making Edinburgh Manor a site of residual and intelligent hauntings. If you don't know the difference, a residual haunting is, think of it as just trapped energy where something will replay like a tape. Like if you put a tape on and there's footsteps down the same hallway at the same time every day, it's 12 footsteps and then it stops. And then the next day at the same time, it's 12 footsteps and it stops. Or it could be the same day every month, or it could be the same day in a year. It could be once every 5 years. That is a residual haunting. It does not interact with the living at all. Yeah. An intelligent haunting is something that is aware of you or not, but I guess it would have to be aware of you because it can interact with you. You can do things, you can ask questions, you can get EVPs of direct responses and things like that. The energy left behind by so many suffering individuals could explain why the manor continues to be a hotbed for paranormal activity. All righty, let's get into it. Are you ready?
I was born ready, Kelly.
All right. Visitors to Edinburgh Manor frequently hear strange sounds throughout the building, including disembodied footsteps, doors slamming shut by themselves, and the sounds of objects moving when no one is around.
Did you hear those things?
We heard things. We'll get to that.
Okay, sorry.
In one famous incident, a large, heavy door repeatedly banged shut while no one was inside the room. The sounds are especially prevalent in the upper floors, where there have been reports of doors opening and closing by themselves when no one is near.
Okay.
One of the most tragic aspects of Edinburgh Manor's history is the presence of children's spirits.
Mm.
Over the years, there were reports of orphaned children living at the facility, many of whom were likely abandoned by their families and found themselves in care due to tragic circumstances. Today, some visitors claim to hear a faint laughter or the sound of children playing, even though the building is empty. Some people have also seen small shadowy figures moving along the floors or even heard whispers of children calling out to them. These spirits are often described as more playful, unlike the darker entities that haunt other parts of the manor.
Okay.
Susie is a young girl between the ages of 7 and 10 years old from the Depression area, and she is found mainly in the toy room, which is room 106 on the first floor of the men's wing. The toy room is when you walk in to Edinburgh, you have like a big, I don't know, there's one big room when you first walk in, and then there's a hallway like at the end, and you can go left or right.
Okay. I do also just want to point out that I hate that name.
What?
Susie.
Okay.
I hate that name.
What?
It is the name that my parents used when I was a child for my lady parts. I don't know if anyone else's parents ever used that word, but I don't know. So it just makes me hate that name because it makes me think of vaginas.
Well, now I'm just thinking of a little vagina walking around haunting this building.
Well, I'm sorry. If I was thinking that, then you had to think it too.
Okay.
Thanks, Mom and Dad. Parents, this is why you just use the real words with your kids.
Right. They're not bad words.
Yeah, they're not. Vagina is not a bad word.
Vulva. Yeah. See?
Mm-hmm.
We're
say
all
'em.
adults. We can say them.
Say the words.
Okay. So
Sorry,
like I was saying.
Total sidetracked.
As I was saying, the men's, when you walk in, if you walk in, you go to the right, that's the men's ward. If you go to the left, that's like the women's side.
Okay.
So the toy room is at the end of the hall on the right. It's a very large room that faces the front of the building. Susie is known to create cold spots, interact with EMF devices, and trigger objects, especially toys that light up. Or she likes to roll balls.
Yes, she does.
On the floor. She also likes to touch and hold hands of people in the room, creating a cold or tingling sensation when she touches.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, her voice has been captured on EVP, as well as the spirit box and other types of voice communications. She is also known for humming, singing, or laughing. Footsteps are often heard in these areas, and she has been known to be found in other locations of the building, such as the pool room, which is located on the opposite side of the toy room on the first floor.
Okay, I just have to clarify, pool as in swimming or
no,
pool as
pool,
in...
like pool table, yeah.
Oh, pool tables, okay.
Now, remember the toy room, though, because we're going to talk about one more kid, and then we're going to get to another story, and then Katie and I had something happen while we were listening to the guide in the toy room, okay?
Okay.
So, but first, there's a small boy that looks to be about 3 or 4 years old, maybe younger. He is heard and seen in both the first and second floor. He has interacted in the toy room and in the pool room, and he has been visually seen standing in the window on the second floor of the men's wing, in the large room above the toy room, looking out the front center window. He has been heard playing knocking games. He likes to tease by making noise in a room at one end of the hallway and then switching to the opposite side when you go to look.
Okay.
He is also known to touch and pull on your clothes. He has been captured on SLS upstairs. SLS is a camera that will map out if there is if it picks up energy in the shape of a human or an animal, it will map it out and you can see it like a little stick figure.
I do just want to note that sometimes SLS can map out anything that is human shaped.
If anything at all, like if you have something that's sitting on a shelf and it kind of looks like a torso and legs hanging off the shelf, it will map that, depending on the sensitivity of it.
Yes.
So you have to be very careful with SLS.
Yes.
So he has also been heard on the Spirit Box and EVP sessions, and he likes to interact with EMF detectors.
Oh, I have one of those.
So now we're going to talk about Paul.
Hi, Paul. Do we like Paul or do we not like Paul?
Paul's fine.
Okay. Hi, Paul.
It's a sad story.
Oh, hi, Paul.
In room 121, across the hallway from the toy room on the men's wing on the first floor, is what is now a janitor's closet, but it once was the room of Paul. Paul had lived with his mother until she passed away in the 50s. His siblings did not know what to do with him since they did not want to take him into their homes. So they committed him to the manor.
Poor Paul.
Having lost everything he had known, he was grief-stricken and missing his mother. Determined to leave the manor, he unalived himself by hanging himself with his bedsheet from the doorknob of his room.
Paul.
I want you to think about that. The doorknob is not high up. It's not an area that's high up. So he had to lay down on that floor, and he had to be very committed to what he was doing. Because if you are standing up and you unalive yourself by hanging, most of the time, once you are off of the whatever supporting structure, even if you decide to change your mind, you have no way out.
Yeah, you're done. Whereas with that, he had to commit to that decision because he could have stopped at any moment, and he didn't. Yeah. Wow. Oh, that breaks my heart.
So he was found the next morning by a worker of the facility who confirmed that that's how Paul died. Paul's spirit may not still be at the location, but people can feel his residual sadness and anxiety.
Okay. I am glad that you said it's residual, because that would just break my heart if he unalived himself in order to escape the location and he was still bound there.
Right.
That would just be heartbreaking. Not that it takes away from what happened. It's still heartbreaking, but I hope that his spirit found peace afterwards.
So people also get this very heavy feeling when in his room. I mean, and Paul was very intent on not remaining at the manor, and I honestly hope that he was able to move on and he is not stuck there. While we were looking in the toy room, and the tour guide is in the middle of the room, and she's talking about the spirits, Katie, Nick, and I were in the doorway of the toy room, like right in from the hall, kind of like in between the two rooms. And I hear what sounds like tapping sounds coming from the room, like across the hall, but it's over to the left a little bit.
Okay.
And I'm looking over. I'm like, whatever. I start listening to her again, and I hear more tapping sounds. And I look at Katie, and I'm like, do you hear that? And she's like, yeah. So as the tour guide is talking, you were allowed to just wander around while she was talking. You were allowed to go look around. So I just like kind of took a step or two back, and I started to walk over towards this room, and I got really, really anxious. And I was like, okay. And I looked in the room, and it was just a janitor's closet. And I was like, okay. I waited a minute, kind of looked around, didn't really see anything. I go back, and I'm standing there, and she's finishing talking. As we're walking out of the toy room, she goes, I want everybody to stop and look at that janitor's closet before we go into the hallway. And I'm going to tell you about the janitor's closet. And we're like, okay. So I was like, well, we already saw it. So we get out of the way. Everybody else goes over there and they're looking in. And then she says, that did not used to be a janitor's closet. That used to be a patient room of a patient named Paul. And then she tells the story of Paul unaliving himself.
Yeah.
And then she said, people feel sadness, anxiety, and there are reports of hearing tapping sounds coming from that room. And I looked at Katie like, holy crap.
Wow. We just experienced that. And I love that it was before she told the story, because you can always say if it's after you know what's supposed to happen there, then maybe your brain's playing tricks on you or fabricating something. But the fact that that happened before, and then she confirmed that was something that usually happened. That's pretty great.
Yeah. It was really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't feel creeped out at all. I felt more sad after learning about his story and what
he went through.
Yeah.
That's tragic.
Okay. Now we go up some stairs and we're walking down this hallway and I start to smell Christmas trees.
Okay.
And I'm like, does anybody else smell that? And people are like, smell what? I'm like, you don't smell Christmas trees? And they're like, no. And I'm like, is there cleaner up here? Like, I don't know, Pine Sol or something like that? You know, they're like, the woman that's doing the tour, she's like, no. I'm like, I smell Christmas trees. And she said, I do not, the tour guide Kat, I think, had some kind of sensitivity to the other side.
Okay.
But she was like, I don't pick up on like paranormal like sense, but other people do. So when people tell me they smell something, I'm like, okay, well, I don't, because that's not my thing.
Right.
And there was one other woman there that turned around. She was up further from me, so she couldn't hear me in the back. And she turned to her friend and said, do you smell Christmas trees? And I was like, oh, I smell Christmas trees.
How many people were on your tour?
A lot.
Okay.
Like probably 30.
Okay.
So as we're walking down the hallway, I look over into this room, and there is a room that is decorated for Christmas.
What?
And it's got like an artificial Christmas tree set up, different like stockings. And apparently it is believed that one of the resident spirits there really likes Christmas and responds to questions or objects, trigger objects surrounding Christmas. And I was like, okay. Maybe there was cleaner somewhere in there, and maybe it was that she wasn't aware of. That's possible.
Yeah, but the fact that nobody else besides 2 people out of a group of like 30 plus.
And it was strong. It wasn't like a light, like.
Right, it wasn't like you got a pass and you're like, oh, what was that?
Right.
Yeah.
So that is just something to note. Now, we're going to go to the basement.
Oh, I hate basements. That's the reason I moved to Florida. Because there are no basements in Florida. That's it.
Go down into the basement. You have the kitchen. And then there is a large like area where they would sit to eat.
Okay.
Okay. And then you can go down another long hallway. And there's like a boiler room, and then there's a big kind of like maintenance room where like the water heater and all of that kind of stuff.
No good things ever happen in a boiler room. It's just where all the shady shit happens. Where it all goes down.
Yes. We're going to talk about the kitchen door first. A particularly eerie part of the manor is the kitchen, where a door is covered in names and messages from both former residents and visitors. It's a popular stopping point for many. They like to read the names and stuff. Okay. So over the years, people have written their names, left messages, some even claiming that it's a way to commune with the spirits inside. However, the door has a reputation of moving on its own. Paranormal investigators have reported hearing knocking or even seeing the door swing open and shut without anyone present.
Okay.
Some visitors have noted that the door is frequently found ajar, even though it was closed moments earlier, as though unseen hands are at work. Also common in the kitchen area is poltergeist activity.
Okay.
Where
Let me a good poltergeist.
Dishes will fly across the room and break.
Okay, I don't like that.
So they keep putting dishes down there. They'll go to like thrift stores and just put a bunch of plates and stuff and see what they can get. And there's several broken items.
That's smart.
It's a common enough occurrence.
Right, that they have to keep replenishing it.
As Kat is describing all of this, I'm kind of looking over my shoulder and I see the room where everybody kind of eats. Mm-hmm. And I recognize it from when I watched Project Fear.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, we're allowed to wander while she's talking. So I walk down into that room by myself and I get to the end and I'm quite a bit away from the rest of the group at this point. And I turn around and I see this long, dark hallway. And I look over at it and I start to walk, like to go down that hallway. And I stopped. And I was like, absolutely not.
Oh.
And then I was laughing at myself. I was like, I always watch Project Fear and I think, would I be able to go by myself in some of these places, like explore by myself or spend the night, sleep alone in a location? And I think, I don't know, I guess it would depend on the location. But I went to walk down that hallway and my body would not let me continue.
Okay.
I tried to push myself.
Yeah.
And my foot would not move. I was like, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I go to meet back up with the group and this guy comes around the corner. Again, I forget his name. Jordan, maybe? It might have been Jordan.
Hi, Jordan.
Tyler? I don't know.
Tyler.
Jordan,
whatever
Tyler.
Your name is. Jordan, Tyler.
He goes, oh, okay. I didn't know somebody had come down here and I saw movement. So I was just checking out. I was like, oh, no, it's just me. And he introduced himself as a paranormal investigator who often investigates with Kat, the tour guide.
Okay.
I was like, oh, it's nice to meet you. So we meet back with the group and we're kind of walking around. And now we get to that room I was in by myself. And now we're about to walk down that hallway that my body was like,
no
thanks. So they turn the lights on. It's a lot less scary with the lights on than with the lights off. But I still was a little uneasy about it.
Yeah.
But with a group of over 30 people, I figure I'm okay.
Probably. I mean,
so
maybe.
We start to walk down this hallway and there's a room that has like a old creepy piano. And then you get over to like the maintenance area.
Hold on. During Project Fear, did Tanner play this piano?
Yes.
Okay. Because he always, if there's a piano, Tanner is playing it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was Tanner. Somebody played that piano.
It's always Tanner. It's always Tanner, Kelly.
Okay. So we're walking down. Now we're heading towards the boiler room and the maintenance room. Now I'm going to say a little bit about that before I talk about the rest of my story.
Okay.
Mostly encountered in the maintenance room and the boiler room of the manor. This spirit is located downstairs, down the hall opposite of the kitchen and at the back of the manor. The room still contains the remnants of equipment used to repair the building. And the spirit does not like people in his room and usually communicates via EVP, spirit box, or other voice-sensitive devices, saying things like get out and leave. He's also been in the boiler room and has been captured on SLS. We are assuming this is the same spirit, but it may be different entities.
Okay. Told you nothing good ever happens in a boiler room.
Right. Now, the show Ghost Adventurers are the ones who coined the name The Joker for the entity in the basement. And the tour guide was like, we don't know if it's one, we don't know if it's multiple entities, but they are the ones who called it the Joker, and that just kind of stuck. There's also, she gave me some very interesting information about an experience that one of the team members in that group had. She showed us where that team member was standing versus where the activity was, and how funny it was that they literally acted like they had a near-death experience, and it was,
of course they did,
very funny.
Mm-hmm.
We went back and watched that episode just so we could see how they acted, and it was hysterical, given that we now had visual reference of where these two things had taken place.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's on par.
So if you know anything about Edinburgh Manor, you know about the Joker. This entity is known to be in most locations of the basement. He is seen as a tall, black, or all-white figure, possibly as high as 9 feet tall. He is
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
9 feet?
Yes.
Fuck that, Kelly. Kelly, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm out.
You're out?
I'm out.
You're not going to burn it down?
I'm not burning it down, but I'm out. I'm running. Because 9 feet? No. I can't do 9 feet, Kelly. That's too fucking tall. My limit on ghost height is 7 foot. If you are a ghost and you are taller than 7 feet, I'm out. I can't handle it.
7 is still too tall.
7 is pushing it, Kelly. It's pushing it. But that's more common. So if I said I was out on that, I feel like I would always be out. But 9? No. 9, I can't. No. It's not happening. I'm close. I'm getting the matches ready, Kelli. They're in my hand.
Okay.
But I'm not quite burning it down.
So the Joker is the one believed to be throwing objects like the dishes. He also does things in other locations of the basement, but mainly the laundry room and the dining hall. He's known to be very mischievous and has touched, pulled hair, or even pushed people in areas of the basement, especially in the long hallway between the dining hall and the laundry area. That's the hallway that my body would not let me walk down.
Has he scratched anybody before, Kelli?
They have a book when you walk in to do the tour, when you sign in. There is a book. We saw a picture of all the guys from Project Fear. Like, they have pictures of different shows that have been there.
Yeah.
And then they have pictures of different evidences and stuff. And there's a whole section. It was like multiple scratches on people's bodies.
Mm-hmm. From the Joker?
Well, from the whole manor.
Okay.
Okay. So like I was saying, that's the hallway that my body was like, I don't know about that. He can also be felt as cold spots or like gusts of air as he moves past you. And he actively interacts with EMF and REM pods and other energy or touch sensitive objects.
Okay.
He can also be heard through voice devices such as EVP and spirit boxes. Some feel that he is a resident who is presenting himself as a large figure, while others feel he may be some other sort of entity or energy, or possibly a negative entity. Okay. We go down this hallway. Mm-hmm. Nick and Katie and I are at the back of this tour, like we're at the end, and the new parent, Jordan, Tyler, Justin, whatever his name is, he's behind me. Okay. I really wish I remembered your name. You were super cool. And I told you about the podcast and you said that you might listen for this episode. I hope that you are. And I'm really, really sorry that I suck at remembering your name. So we walk down. You have to walk down a couple steps to get into the boiler room. We walk down and I'm staring at this big boiler. And I made a joke to Nick that like, that's the boiler where Freddy Krueger's like kept his like finger knives. And if you've ever seen Nightmare on Elm Street, you know what I'm talking about.
Finger knives? You just call them finger knives?
Yeah.
I've never heard them called finger knives before.
Well, that's what they are.
Okay.
As Kat is talking, I start to feel extremely uncomfortable. I'm right near the bottom of the stairs. The Justin, Jason, Tyler, paranormal investigator guy. He's at the top of the stairs.
Justin, Jason, Tyler, please,
Jordan.
If you are listening to this, Jordan, if you message us on social media, we will put your name in the show.
Yes,
so if
we
you
will.
want Kelli to actually remember your name, just message us and we will say it in whatever episode we record after you message us. Because we want to give you credit where credit is due.
We really, really do.
But Kelli has ADHD, so she can't remember things. She probably forgot your name the second you introduced yourself.
That might be true.
Because that is what happens.
Yes. Okay. Where was I?
I don't remember.
Oh, I'm uncomfortable.
ADHD, Kelli.
I had like a cardigan on, and I kind of I noticed that I like closed it, and I was like kind of standing there and I'm looking around all behind me, and so it feels like the walls are literally closing in on me, and I'm feeling very claustrophobic. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. Yeah. So I tell Nick, I'm like, I'm gonna go up the stairs, and he was like, okay. So I walk up the stairs, and I walk past Justin, Jordan, Jason, Tyler.
You have to add another name every time you say it.
But then I have to remember them all, and it's getting hard to remember the 4 I've said. So I walk past him, and Justin, Jordan, Jason, Tyler looks at me and says, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I just felt like I couldn't be in that room anymore. I don't know. I just felt very uncomfortable. Like I just had to get out of there. And he said, that's very common. It happens a lot to people down in that boiler room. Mm-hmm. And he said, I was watching you and I noticed your body language. It was obvious that you were uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, well, I was. So I come out and I'm talking to him. They're finishing up down there, the little tour. And he says, I know a lot of people are afraid of the boiler room, but this entity is like out in this room too. He goes, actually, we really see more activity in this part of the like maintenance area.
Okay.
They had like the washer and dryers and big, I don't know, oil tank and all this stuff down there. Eventually, the whole group comes out of the boiler room and we all spread out in this big room where the washer and dryers and everything is. I am standing like in the back of the room, I guess over towards the left. Justin Jordan, Jason, Tyler, James is now behind me. He's standing behind me, but he's the only other person behind me. Most of the other group is over on the other side.
Okay.
Nick is like a little bit in front of me and Katie's a little bit in front of him.
Okay.
We're sitting there listening. And now Kat's like, we're going to move on through this way. We're leaving now, heading out through that long hallway that I was uncomfortable coming in.
Yeah.
So
back to the hallway.
Nick and I are the last two people out, except for Jason, Jordan, Justin, Tyler, James. He's behind me.
Okay.
As I get over to Nick, I say, what? My neck hurts. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, I don't know. My neck hurts. And then Justin, Jordan, Jason, James, Tyler says, were you just scratching your neck? And I turned around and I said, no, but I just told him that my neck hurt. And he said, do you mind if I take a picture of your neck? And I was like,
it's a weird question for somebody to ask, I guess, but.
Sure. So he takes a picture and he goes, you have a very significant long scratch down the back of your neck.
Yes, you did.
And he showed me the picture on his phone. And I handed him my phone and said, can you please take some pictures? And he said, yes. And then I got kind of the heebie-jeebies, like, oh my gosh, like what?
Yeah.
Like a spirit there. I racked my brain. Like I didn't back into anything.
Right.
Or like walk into anything, nothing. And it was like red, like hot red, like it just happened.
Right.
And Justin, Jordan, Jason, Tyler, James said, now I don't want you to be upset. Sometimes entities, they're just trying to get our attention. And I was like, I'm okay. And he's like, well, I just want you to, like, this doesn't mean that something evil is there. I'm like, Justin, Jason, Tyler, James, Jason,
Jordan,
Justin, Jason, Tyler, James, Jason, Justin, Jordan, I'm okay. And he was like, okay. So like I said, we're at the back. So there's all these people in front of us. We get up and I hear a woman say, I can't believe you got scratched. But she wasn't talking to me.
What?
And I was like, wait, who got scratched?
You didn't tell me this part.
Yeah. I was like, who got scratched? And this woman turns her head and on her cheek, she's got a long scratch down her cheek.
Dude, don't touch my face. That's my moneymaker. Kind of. Even though we do a podcast and you don't have to see me. It's my moneymaker. You can scratch me anywhere else, but not my face.
Yeah. So as soon as we got out of there, I texted Jen and was like, you're not going to believe what happened to me at Edinburgh Manor.
She did. And I immediately dropped everything. And like, I think I was with my parents and I showed them and I was like, look what happened to Kelly.
Well, what did your parents think?
My mom was like, just jaw dropped. And my dad was like, I don't know if that's cool or scary. And I was like, yeah, both.
You know what? I was fine. I really thought that if something physically touched me, that I'd be upset or really freaked out by it.
Right.
But it just goes to show you how you just don't know how you're going to react. Like I was going to walk down that long, dark hallway by myself. And my body said, nope, no, you're not.
No. But,
which is something I would have thought I would have been able to do.
Right. But then you got scratched and you were like, nah. It's fine. Yeah. You really can't know how you would react in a situation until you're in it. And I think that of all the time as I'm watching all these paranormal shows, like what would I do? And I like to think that I'd be cool and calm and collective, but I don't know. We'll see. Know.
And that brings us to the end of this episode about Edinburgh Manor. Thank you for joining us in this chilling and tragic journey through Edinburgh Manor. It's clear that the spirits of the past continue to linger within its walls, from the shadowy figures on the upper floors to the mysterious cold spots and eerie whispers in the dark. This historic building in rural Iowa remains a place where boundaries between the living and dead blur. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, the stories surrounding Edinburgh Manor are a haunting reminder of forgotten lives and untold stories that once shaped its halls. For those brave enough to step inside, the manor offers more than just a glimpse into Iowa's history. It offers a first-hand encounter with its lingering spirits.
And if you haven't already went on wherever you listen to us and rated us 5 stars and followed us and subscribed and whatever else you can do, then what are you doing? What are you even doing with your life?
You love us. You know it.
You know it. And if this is the first episode you're listening to, then I'm telling you for the first time to go rate, review, and subscribe.
Please.
Please. Because it helps us so much to continue to bring you these spooky, wonderful tales.
Do you hear that?
I heard something when you first looked, but then you kind of looked and then stopped. I wasn't sure if it was something you did. What is that?
I don't know.
That was more than just like a noise. That was like,
I mean,
it was a noise. I don't know what I'm saying, but it was.
I don't know what you're saying either, but
it was more than just like a one-off. What
I don't
was
know.
that?
My window's open, so it could have come from outside.
That was not. That was too close.
Oh.
That was too close.
Well, I have no idea.
I could hear it through the microphone. It was close.
I have no idea. I don't see anything around here that would make that noise either. Okay. Well, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Not My Ghost Podcast and on Facebook at Not My Ghost, Not My Problem. We post updates, photos, and more.
Yes, we do. And if you really want to support us, you can join our Patreon, where you can get all kinds of amazing exclusive perks, including episodes early, 3 days, sometimes 4 days, because I don't know dates and sometimes put in the wrong date, like I did this week, where everybody got the episode 4 days early because when I went to publish it, I clicked the wrong date. We also allow you to vote on episodes, and we have a private Discord that you can chat directly with us. I know we're like M-list celebrities, but you want to chat with us on Discord.
You think we're all the way up to M? That's amazing.
I was going really far down, Kelly. Someone else that doesn't know us personally knows who we are. I'm going to consider us M. We'll go to M.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Danny has met us in person, but we have 2 people that haven't met us in person and pay us
on
correct. Patreon.
That is
Therefore,
correct.
I think we can consider ourselves M-list celebrities.
Okay. I like it.
Okay. If you have any spine-tingling paranormal encounters or stories, or somebody who had a paranormal encounter that they told you about it, please email us at notmyghostpodcast@gmail.com, because we would love to hear them, and we would love to read your story on one of our future episodes.
Yes. Thank you for joining us on this eerie exploration of Edinburgh Manor. Edinburgh Manor. Remember, as you walk through the halls of the manor, keep this in mind.
If it's not your ghost,
it's not your problem.
Until next time, stay spooky.
And stay skeptical.